Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can know where the conversation is taking place. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, please make sure you hit that notification button. That way you'll be notified as soon as this video goes live, and well, you can catch it as soon as it's on, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is taking place. So make sure that you guys do that. Also want to remind you, support the Firearms Policy Coalition by going to fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It is the place to go and get all of your Pro 2A swag. Folks, it's not just important to support the Second Amendment, but don't you want to look good doing it? Well, that's what fpcgear.com is easy. Just follow the link in the description of this video, and you'll be able to go there and find all your cool Pro 2A messages on your t-shirts. Once again, it is the place to go in order to support the Second Amendment and look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right, let's get into today's topic, shall we? Being from California, once again, you know I'm no stranger to magazine bans. And while we already know that the California magazine ban is on its way, hopefully, to the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a decision that, that supports our fundamental right to keep and bear arms. But now the state of Washington has actually put in place their own magazine ban, once again, here in the Ninth Circuit Court of Schlemiels. But to discuss the case, because by the way, FPC did file a case, because, that's what we do. But to discuss the case that we filed, we have once again Associate Counsel for the Firearms Policy Coalition, Mr. Bill Sack. Bill, welcome back to the program.
Greg, good to be back. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal, sir. I am doing exceptionally well. Dude, I've been looking forward to talking to you about this one because, as you know, we here in California, we're no strangers to magazine bans. So I just wanted to hit you up real quick and talk to you a little bit about the Washington magazine ban and about the case that you guys filed on it.
Yeah, so new law that passed earlier in the year, restricting magazines to 10 rounds in Washington state. It restricts manufacture, purchase, sale, offer for sale, transfer, basically everything except possession outright, which is a sneaky trick that gun grabbers like to pull to try to make things feel not quite so bad when they pass these laws, and to try to, get us to succumb by death by 1,000 cuts. You can keep the mags that you have now. You just can't get any new ones, build anymore, fix them, get parts for them, transfer them, import new ones from out of state, etc. To try to keep, the angry mobs from storming the Capitol. But the bill, which was known as Senate Bill 5078, signed by Governor Inslee, we filed a challenge really within about a month of the bill passing. It's going to be a federal challenge challenging the constitutionality of the law based on the Second and 14th Amendments, and it's going to be in the Western District of Washington.
All right, so one would think, especially because there's especially because there's already a case that's moving forward, one would think that it wouldn't make sense for the state of Washington to actually pass a law they know is currently being questioned. Other than just wanting to get in the news, what rationale do they possibly have for passing something that is dubiously or questionably constitutional?
Well, we all know the answer to that. It's politically advantageous for certain people that belong to certain parties or run in certain jurisdictions to pass any number of infringements on our rights and on the liberty of the people because it's popular with their base. We see it all the time, and we saw it recently in another case that you and I are going to talk about in another episode, in a case out of Pittsburgh, where politicians sometimes outright will say, we know that this is probably not going to pass constitutional muster, but we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to let the courts deal with it. Quite frankly, we saw the president do it during the COVID lockdowns. It's not uncommon, and unfortunately, our system does allow for the legislatures and even the executives oftentimes to do things that they really should know that they're not supposed to do, and they just wait to get smacked down by the courts, and in the meantime, they're wasting taxpayer money.
Well, and the worst part of it is that you take, for example, the Ninth Circuit, where it takes forever for cases to get through. So in the meantime, the rights of law-abiding citizens are infringed upon for a significant amount of time, and before they finally get to the point where they're able to stand up and have their rights defended. That's unfortunate. The other thing, and it's funny, you mentioned the fact that right now they allow you to keep the magazines you have. Well, we've already seen in places like California where, yeah, you got to keep them. Now we're going to go after them and we're going to have them taken away. It is literally the camel's nose under the tent. And I used to say that I didn't believe in slippery slope arguments and logic and critical thinking when you take those classes. They tell you that's a faulty form of argument, except when you get into politics, in particular politics relating to guns.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty common trick in the gun control sphere to not take away the guns immediately, because we all know the crap storm that can stir up when politicians talk about mandatory buybacks, confiscations, and rightfully so, right? That will bring out the silent majority, quite frankly, that is against that sort of thing. But it's easier for them to sneak through these more incremental changes where it's like, okay, you can keep your magazines for now. It's just that you can't do anything with them ever again, and they have to be destroyed when you die, for example. You can't ever transfer them to anyone. They can't be inherited by anybody. So all the gun controllers have to do at that point is pass laws like this and then wait a generation. And they don't have to have the fights at the courthouse. They don't have to have, people storming the Capitol over mandatory gun buybacks. They just have to pass a law and then wait 20 years and wait for all of us pro-liberty minded people who didn't fight hard enough to get rid of these little incremental laws to die out, and all of our beliefs and our standard capacity magazines to disappear with us.
All right. Now, some folks are going to say, well, look, there's already magazine cases that are being fought in the courts. There's already one in the Ninth Circuit that's already being fought. Why was it important to file this lawsuit?
It's important to fight back at every chance that we can. I mean, really, the FPC law mantra is to punch them in the mouth as often and as quickly as we can. Anytime we have an opportunity that we can slap a lawsuit on a couple politicians that deserve it, we're going to do it.
That's what I love about FPC. FPC's scrappers. I always say it's the most aggressive of all the Second Amendment civil rights activist groups. And I think it takes on in particular, the demeanor of a generation that is just tired of once again, of our rights being infringed upon in it, and the Second Amendment being treated like a right, but not a right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to your question too, Craig, of, well, why do they pass this stuff if they know that it's not likely to be constitutional or it's not likely to be upheld? They do it because it takes time. The system itself is the burden. It takes time for these cases to run through. And as long as they can go to their constituency and say, hey, look what I did when it comes to the next election cycle, they don't care if it gets knocked down. In fact, if it gets knocked down, they're just as happy, because then they can say, the evil gun lobby went after them, and they're super proud of that. So it's important that anytime that these sorts of new pieces of legislation are passed, that the legislatures and the governors that are signing them know that there's going to be immediate comeuppance, that, we're going to come up and we're going to make them pay the toll a little bit, and they're going to be right back in the news, and they're going to be defending that case and spending that money and defending themselves in court immediately, not resting on their laurels while some other case languishes in the Ninth Circuit.
It would be nice if we could hold them individually accountable when they pass a law that is that once again, as we talked about before, they know is constitutionally dubious, but in the end, here's what they know. They're not defending it with their money. They're defending it with taxpayer dollars, which, oh, by the way, is our money, right? So we wind up funding both sides of the lawsuit because we now have to go to groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition to go to court and defend our rights. It's beyond frustrating when dealing with some of these folks. And anyway, so let me ask you this question now. So where does this case go from here?
So great question. So the case was just filed June 3rd. So it's brand new. We have not had a response from the state yet. Typically, the state gets 21 days to respond once the complaint is in. So that's going to be coming at the end of June. And once we see how it is the state responds, we'll know what the next steps will be, and we'll spin up the brief writing printer and get to work.
Excellent, sir. Excellent, sir. How do folks follow the legal work there at the Firearms Policy Coalition?
Excellent question. So firearmspolicy.org takes you to our homepage. That is where you can find everything wonderful that we do here at FPC. If you want to know specifically about the legal team's work, go to fpclaw.org, where you can see this case, Sullivan v. Ferguson, and all of the other cases that your FPC legal team is involved in their entirety. We post every complaint, every brief that we file on your behalf, which we are only able to do with the generous donations of our members and our constituency. And so everything that you folks pay for goes up there so that you can read it in its entirety. And we sure hope that you guys come check out all the work that we're doing.
All right. Now, Bill, before I let you go, I noticed the drawing of Val Kilmer there as Wyatt Earp in your background. Does that have any special meaning for you?
So, which shoulder is it over?
There you go.
Yeah. So obviously from the classic movie Tombstone, Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday. This particular print is one of my favorite things in my office. This was drawn by a friend of mine. His name is Lauren Mitchke. He sells these online. And what you can't quite see in the print is that instead of the two little Colt Thunderers that Doc Holliday carried in real life, in this print, he's carrying two 2011s with RMRs on them. So, Doc's a man after my own heart. So
very nice.
2011 guys.
Very nice.
Together.
Thank you for the correction. Yeah, that is Doc Holliday from Tombstone. All right. Now I got to ask you, did you prefer his portrayal of Doc Holliday? Or Dennis Quaid's portrayal from Wyatt Earp?
Oh, I got to give it to Val Kilmer. Oh, come on. I'm your Huckleberry. Classic.
I liked Dennis. I thought Dennis Quaid looked the part a little bit more because he lost a lot of weight in order to do that role. But yeah, no, overall performance definitely goes to Val Kilmer.
I think so too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Back.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, folks, once again, that's going to be it for this edition of Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. Remember, support the Firearms Policy Coalition because, as I always say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Don't be part of the problem. Support us today. We'll talk to you later.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.